Katy, welcome to the Calm Mom podcast. So grateful to have you with us today. Thanks for being here.
I've been looking forward to hanging out with you. So thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yes, I feel like in some ways this is probably not necessarily like a long time coming, but we were just saying before we hit record, very similar audiences, guys. She also has her own podcast and we'll talk about it on the show today. And my audience is always looking for practical handles to just give them that like, that sense of like, just that release. And I think
Peace,
they're going to get a lot of that today. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so before we get into all of it, tell the people a little bit about you and your story and how you came to be teaching on simplifying and minimalism in a way that works for us, right?
Yeah, sure. Well, now, present day, I help families. I'm so humbled and grateful to be in this position, simplify their homes and lives in a way that actually sticks. But 10 years ago, you would have found me in a very different place. I was a brand new mom, and I was anything but a calm mom. And I remember I had this vivid memory of standing in the living room one day after coming home from a long day at work. I think a lot of us can relate to the feeling of just wanting to like walk into a home that supports us, right? And doesn't feel chaotic because life is already chaotic enough. And I remember walking through my front door and just standing in my living room and I thought a tornado had ripped through. And I wish I could say like, oh, it was just a really busy week but this was like daily life for me. I mean, diapers everywhere, toys covering every square inch of the floor, counter so cluttered I couldn't cook.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was constantly cleaning and organizing, but I was never caught up. And I was exhausted. I was short-tempered. I was stressed and anxious in my home all the time. And really at the end of the day, I felt like I was failing at life. I really, really did. And I had so much shame around the fact that it felt like to me, I was the only one who couldn't figure out like home management and clutter and cleaning and organizing. And I just was most disappointed that I couldn't show up as the mom I wanted to be. Like I was a no mom. I constantly had to tell my kids, no, I can't play because I had a task pulling me or a chore to do or cleaning or decluttering and all these different things. So I tried what a lot of us have tried. I tried all the decluttering advice. I was like, okay, I'll try the Spark Joy method, or I bought bins, or I tried color coding, basically everything but my kids. I tried all the hacks. I followed the 30-day challenges. And while a lot of these things helped briefly, the clutter always came back. And with that, so did the shame and the frustration. And again, it's like, well, I guess it must be me because this failed again. Right.
Yeah.
And my turning point was this moment where I thought, maybe it's not that I stink at this, or maybe it's not that I'm trying hard enough. Maybe the problem is the approach, right? All these kind of traditional approaches. And what I realized through this process, it was very deep and meaningful and profound, was that clutter isn't just stuff.
Yeah.
It's emotional baggage. It's identity. It's mental overload, which so many of us moms struggle with. It is decision fatigue. And it's all the pressure that we put on ourselves to stay on top of everything and be productive and be all the things.
Yeah.
And the problem with traditional methods is that they treat clutter like a surface level problem.
Yeah.
But clutter is like a weed. If you don't pull it out by the root, it's going to come back. And so through this, I guess, personal process, I created a new approach, which I call holistic decluttering. And this is where we pull the weed out by the root, right? We change the soil, we pull it out by the roots so that it doesn't grow back. We address the beliefs, the patterns, the habits and systems, right?
Yes.
And all the underneath of the stuff. And we create rhythms that fit your life and your season, not some Pinterest perfect version of it, which I know we're all kind of sick of, right? And this is what changed everything for me. This made me become a yes mom. I stopped spending my weekends battling clutter and reorganizing the same piles over and over, and instead said yes to playing with my kids or taking impromptu hikes with my family. I'm not constantly tidying. My home is supportive. It's not perfect and it doesn't need to be, right? And I have so much more peace and presence and more of me, kind of like my bubbly personality back that I really missed and craved. And it changed my life. And so this is why I'm so passionate about teaching really my approach to how we tackle stuff and, help people finally let go.
Oh my goodness, this is so good. Thank you for sharing all of that. And I get excited when I hear you talk about it. I can feel your passion. And I think this is so good because it's the same thing we do here on this show too. It's like the roots, right? Like, can we get to
Yes.
the bottom of this? Can we stop trying to do hacks and quick fixes and slap a band-aid on it and, tell you the things that you've already heard 100 times that you've tried, and then the shame comes because they don't work and all of the things. So before we get into some of the systems, can we just start talking about some of the roots? Maybe some of the beliefs, because I think this might be new to some of the women listening. Like, wait a minute, my like thought patterns, my beliefs, the way I was raised or how my house looked growing up, like that's having an impact on my home now. Like, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, of course, there's so much nuance here, but I see three, I think, really common roots that contribute to this feeling, especially for women and moms. And I would say number one, I mean, from a 30,000 foot view, and I'm sure you speak to this as well, is the cultural conditioning. We've been told directly and indirectly that our worth is tied to our appearance, our home's appearance, that a good mom has a clean kitchen, that a put together woman is organized and is naturally organized. And so when clutter comes back, or we're constantly fighting or, struggling with the same type of clutter and mess 24/7 over and over, we think, why can't I get this together? What's wrong with me? Right.
Mhm.
Especially in our day and age where if we spend any amount of time on social media, we see everyone else's highlight reel, and it very quickly reminds our brain that we stink at life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every white
Number
couch
two,
I see on social media, I'm like, lies.
I know.
There's no way.
Oh gosh, it's so hard though. And even we can tell ourselves like, oh yeah, like that might not be true, or she might not have it as put together. But like when you follow, let's just say 50 influencers,
Yeah.
and they all have it together in their specific area, whether it's clothing or parenting or home decor, you're like, oh man, it makes you feel horrible.
Yeah.
So there's that piece, which is really, really big. In our personal stories, you hit that on the head. Like this could be how we were raised,
Yeah.
our relationship with money,
Yeah.
our relationship with stuff, how our parents viewed stuff. Did you grow up in a home where it was like waste not, want not? We don't get rid of anything. We're resourceful,
Right.
right? Identity drives behavior. And so, or maybe you grew up with someone who constantly got rid of your stuff without asking permission. So you
Mm.
made some subconscious decision that's like, my stuff, I'm not getting rid of this, right? And then you have like the pace of modern life, which is a really big one for a lot of us. Like we're juggling so much burnout, decision fatigue, mental overload, and clutter can just be one more thing on the list,
Yeah.
which adds to that guilt and shame spiral. But if your listeners take away anything from this conversation, it's that clutter is not a character flaw. It is a
Mm.
signal. It's a signal that something needs to change. And no matter how busy you are, no matter how many kids you have, or how little time you have, we can make progress and there is hope. And clutter is just a little flag saying, something deeper needs your attention. Maybe it's
Yeah.
mindset, maybe it's something super tangible like a system, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
But I think when we remind ourselves, this is something me and my community remind ourselves often, like clutter is a symptom. It's a
Mm.
symptom, it's not a personal failure. And that's when things start to shift. And instead of feeling shame about it, right? Because when we feel shame, we have
Mm.
inability to take action. It's just, I just stink at this. I sat in that space for a long time. But instead, we move from guilt to grace. Hey, you know what? I can move forward, and we move from shame to strategy. What can I
Mm.
do? Is it something I need to change how I think? Is it something super tangible like teaching my kids to clean their rooms?
Yeah.
And then we can start to feel the benefit because we're making solid progress from there on out.
So good. Okay, let's talk about like defining clutter for a second before we get into some of these
Yes.
handles. Because when we think of clutter,
Mm-hmm.
I think for the most part, we do think of kind of how you described your house coming home that day when it was just stuff
Mm-hmm.
everywhere, right? There's stuff on the counters, there's kids' toys everywhere. I'll speak for myself, but I've definitely had my house look like that at some moments. I'm assuming a lot of us have.
Yeah.
But clutter is more broad than just
Yeah.
like the physical stuff on our counters or in our bathroom or all over the floor. So talk to us a little bit about some other types of clutter that we should be aware of that we might not even know is having a really big impact on our mental state, our parenting, our stress, all the
Yeah.
things.
Well, I think it's important, right? If we're going to declutter our homes, if we're going to address a problem or a symptom, then we need to be very clear on what that is. And this was another thing that I kind of came across organically through my own personal journey, is that one classic example, we've all experienced this, is maybe after dinner you clear the counters and then 2 minutes later a water bottle, your partner's wallet, a sippy cup, a dirty fork, a half broken toy, and you're like, what's the point? What am I doing wrong? Okay. And again, the shame piece of it is so huge, and the resentment. Can we talk about that
Yeah.
for a second?
Yeah.
Because I resented my family, my husband, and my two kids, who at the time were like 2 and 3. Like they didn't know how to,
Real.
but I was like, all you do is make my life harder. I'll be honest. Some days I really thought that. And I was like, I was so triggered and overwhelmed. And that's not a fun place to be, right? Living in resentment because your family's just being human.
Yeah.
And so I realized that there is a huge difference between clutter and what I now call expected mess. So expected mess is the normal mess. Okay, normal mess that happens to every single human being on the planet, whether you're Marie Kondo, a minimalist, or a hoarder, right? And anyone in between. This is the natural side effect of living life. Dirty dishes on the counters, shoes on the floor that your kids didn't put in the shoe bench because who follows through the first time, the right time? Laundry waiting to be done. These are all examples of expected mess. And the solution for those isn't to be like, oh, man, I stink at this. What's wrong with me? You don't declutter those things. Typically for those things, systems and habits can just like be really, really wonderful. Yeah, we can do some mindset shifting around that. But clutter is really the stuff getting in the way of living life, right? Yeah. And I know there's a nuance of definitions out there. I mean, you could define clutter. I think having a working definition of clutter for you and your family is important, because how do we know what's clutter? So some common definitions out there are anything that leads to a feeling of disorganization. My personal definition that me and my family use is if it's not actively, something is clutter if it's not actively supporting our family, our lifestyle, or our goals. And because I prefer something a little more tangible. Yeah. Right. Because we can always look at something and go, well, that came in handy, or well, I'm emotionally tied to that. But having that really practical, objective way to help guide my decision on what to do with it is helpful. And the solution for clutter, isn't to organize it. It's not to color code it. You will rarely hear me talk about organizing in any of my communities because it happens very naturally and simply when we have less clutter to battle. So the solution for expected mess, again, systems, habits, we'll talk about that. Clutter, get it out. Get it out.
Yes. Okay. I love this idea of expected mess so much because I think we can often get pulled into like this all or nothing thinking, right? It can feel very black and white. Either we're like super minimalistic or it's just like a disaster, and either extreme isn't particularly healthy. I was curious as you were sharing that, I love the real life application of that. And I know I've worked with women, and I know there are women listening who actually keep a very, very clean, tidy home. And the pendulum has swung so far to the other end that when there is expected mess, it causes a high level of dysregulation, and they can't focus, and they're irritable, and they're snappy. Can you just speak to that for a moment before we kind of get into some of the practical handles?
Yes, I love that you brought this up, because as someone who is a recovering perfectionist, I see this happen all the time. It's like, oh, okay, I'm overwhelmed. I know I have a clutter problem. All right, let's tackle it using these strategies. And then your expectation goes to like, it needs to be, look, my home needs to look like a Pottery Barn ad. And if something is out of place, I'm stressed or anxious, or I'm elbowing my husband to like pick up his dirty socks. Right. And it creates honestly just as much stress in a lot of ways. And like you said, the pendulum swings too far the other way. Yeah. And I would say that happens time and time again. And another part of my personal journey through this was finding that balance and finding that harmony between like, how can my family and I exist as human beings, and me help create my home that supports us without being stressed on both sides. Too much clutter too much perfection. And what I came up with ultimately was what I call now, it's more a concept than a strategy, but it's called the good enough home. And maybe you've heard of the good enough parenting.
Yeah.
And that is really what inspired it. And it was just the idea that like, we don't need to be a perfect parent in order to raise like resilient, healthy, happy kids. And that parenting concept really for me translated into my home, and that it's okay that messes happen, because here's the thing, mess is actually, I know it's annoying sometimes, but I still remind myself that mess is a beautiful side effect of play,
Yes.
of connection,
Yeah.
of imagination. Like I work in my living room, and it's on the weekends. This looks like the couch is turned over, the pillows are everywhere. And where that used to trigger me, right? Oh, another mess to handle. Oh gosh, there's something else to do. Oh, right now I can look at it and I might not love what I'm seeing, but I can go, oh, this is what life is about.
Yeah.
My kids are gaining so much through this process. And when you look at the purpose, I think it can really shift your perspective and go, okay. And also, yes, we can talk about onboarding family and kids into doing their part, because I wholly believe as a mom that clutter and mess is a family issue, not a mom issue.
Yep.
But it really just changed the game for me and helped me find that happy medium, that harmony.
That's so good. I think that's a mindset that we can apply, one, yes, with clutter in our home, and then with so much else in just life and parenting. Okay, so let's kind of get to the brass tacks. For women listening who are like, my gosh, I couldn't hit play fast enough on this episode. I need all the help. I have, little people all around. There's stuff everywhere I look. Like I've tried, right? They probably resonate with your story. I've tried the things. They don't work. I feel awful and overwhelmed, and I don't even know where to begin. What do you say to them? Where do they start?
Okay, so one of my go-to questions, and again, I teach that there are different layers of clutter, so maybe we'll start with that, because most people only focus on what I call superficial clutter. So if you look at clutter like an onion, the outer layer, right, of the onion, like it's not really like you need a strategy to get that outer layer of the onion off. It just with a little time and barely effort, it goes away.
Yeah.
And this is what most of us tackle when we tackle our clutter. But there is the next layer in what I call scarcity clutter. So this could come in handy, but this cost money. This could be useful, right?
Yep.
And then you have the deepest at its core. You've heard about sentimental clutter, but there's kind of subsets of that. It's emotional, yes, emotional ties, but it's also identity clutter. Yeah. It's aspirational clutter. So it's very nuanced. But the whole point in this is that a lot of us tackle the easy clutter, especially as we get started, because we should. That's the quickest way to make progress. But I just wanted to highlight that for a lot of us, we need to continue to dig a little bit deeper. So relating to the mom out there, and I certainly was this, where do I start when everything is cluttered? Mm-hmm. I typically really recommend starting on a surface area in a space that is visible, that you see every day. So for a lot of us, that's a kitchen island, a kitchen counter, a kitchen table. A lot of people that come to me would love to eat at their kitchen table, but it's so cluttered and filled that their family just eats in the living room or eats standing up or eats somewhere else. Yeah. So pick one surface and set a timer if that resonates. Now, some people feel anxious by timers. So if that doesn't resonate, don't do it. But there is something to be said, just like our kids tend to resonate with timers, especially a visual timer. Yeah. A lot of adults can too. Set a timer for 5 to 10 minutes, knowing that the goal isn't to get it all done. As we've been taught, we don't have to wait until you have an elusive 6-hour time slot that opens up in your day. That's never going to happen, right? No. And the goal isn't to make it perfect. It's just to give your brain that dopamine from that quick visual win. And that helps build momentum. And every time you see that little corner that's decluttered, you're going to go, your brain's going to be like, yes, I love this. How can I continue? How can I get more of this?
So good.
So that's it. And then you can pick a surface area. All right.
Maybe you'll get to this, but what do we do with the stuff?
I got that in step 2. So this is great. Okay. So again, you're going to put on like I'm a simplifier. Like, you're going to put on your simplifier glasses. This is what me and my community call ourselves, right? Identity drives behavior. I'm a simplifier now. Okay. Our mantra, progress, not perfection. As you are looking at your surface area, you're going to go, what is this? Is it expected mess? Something that's actively serving and supporting my family.
Okay.
And probably just didn't get put back where it belongs. A lot of things on surface area are expected mess. What do we do with those? We obviously aren't going to declutter them. We're going to put them back where they go.
Okay.
Okay. So as you start noticing patterns, maybe do this a couple days in a row, or it's abundantly clear for a lot of us right away. Maybe I could have some side conversations with some family members, teach them where things live, right? If it's clutter, my go-to strategy, and this is going to serve you for a lifetime, you are going to be so obsessed with this if you don't already have one, would be to have a, what I call donation station set up in your home. This is a game changer. This is going to be a permanent fixture. It could be an old Amazon box. Don't go to Target and be like, oh, I got to get a cute new. No, we're simplifiers. Okay. Shop your house, grab a bag, a box, like a trash bag. Put it somewhere in your home, easy to access, not just for you, but also your family members, including your kids. Laundry rooms, mine's in my garage. Okay. But the idea is anytime you come across something you no longer use, you put it in your donation station, and it takes the pressure off of feeling like I don't have time to do this right now. So what do? We don't do anything with it, and the clutter builds. And because you have an easy, accessible spot, boom, it's a no-brainer. It goes right into the donation station. Awesome. And then once that's full, that's your cue. Send my husband, that's his job, to Goodwill or whomever you want to donate to. And it's so low effort and it's so seamless. Yeah. So if you are working in an area in your home, maybe you have a craft room or a doom room or a guest room that you are working through slowly over time, putting a donation station nearby to make it more effortless, because our environments influence our action. And if it's not easy to do, we're not going to do it. We already know how the story ends, right? More clutter, more stress. Yeah. And then, tying into this, the donation station, one habit I highly recommend would be to declutter as you go. And so I call these clutter audits, and these are really micro declutter sessions. A session feels long by nature, but it's a micro declutter task that you integrate into your normal everyday routine. Okay. So while you're putting the dirty or the clean dishes back into the cabinet, we all have those mugs that are chipped in the back that aren't our favorite. We've hung on to out of guilt. They got a 1/4 inch of dust on them. Yeah. So even just grabbing one or two of the easy low-hanging fruit ones and adding them to your donation station because you have a home for it, right? And doing this time and time again, you're putting laundry away. Grab one t-shirt you don't even like. Yeah. And applying that and the compounding effect of it over time is so, so huge. So that's a great starting point in a nutshell.
Okay. I love that. So that's, I would assume, mostly superficial clutter. How about the deeper layers? Yeah. Or maybe not. Like, let's talk about the other layers a little bit.
Yeah. So I kind of look at decluttering like I like to lift weights. Mm-hmm. And even if you don't like to lift weights, maybe you've been to a gym or been somewhere where it's like you go in and you don't start by like trying to like bicep curl 50 pounds, which by the way, I can't do, right? You start with 1 pound in each arm and you're doing your bicep curls. So this is a superficial clutter. So every time you're letting go of the superficial clutter, you're telling your brain, I'm capable, I can do this. But maybe you're someone, which is most people, that struggles not with the easy clutter, but with like, oh, this could come in handy one day. So I'm going to add this to the junk drawer. So this is really where a lot of that mindset stuff comes in. So even just, and so again, you're developing your muscle, but we need to like add a new strategy when we hit these different layers of clutter, because one approach doesn't rule them all. And so again, a mantra can be really profound. And again, scarcity, it's not as simple as a light switch, but even having a simple mantra written down that you read before or during when you're tackling a lot of that type of clutter, like I live in abundance and I know I'm safe in this, I'm safe to let go. Yep. Really at the end of the day, scarcity is about fear, right? And fear is driving our decision-making. Fear of what if I need this? Fear of, well, what if I lose my job and I can't afford to buy this again? Like that's a very real feeling. Yes. And to be able to say, hey, you know what? I might feel that way, but I trust my ability to let this go.
Yeah.
And even using something simple like the 2020 rule, which is a rule the minimalists came up with a long time ago. And that idea is if I can replace this for under $20 and in under 20 minutes, I'm going to let this go.
Wow. Okay.
Now I tell my students, customize it. Everyone has different finances and lifestyles. But if you have something really objective and tangible in your mind to handle those, right, you're more likely to make a decision. Otherwise, that fear, that scarcity-based mindset will win every single time.
Yeah. Okay, that's so helpful. As you're sharing all of this, and this is so good, I'm thinking that there are probably women listening who are like, this is awesome. And I've already kind of like counted my kids out. Like I've already, like I can already picture, right, that like they're just going to keep throwing their clothes on the floor instead of the hamper. Or like I've had conversations with them about this before. I wonder if you could speak to them a little bit about one, maybe reintroducing this in a different way and getting them on board. And then second, if you tend to see certain like sticky points with our kids, or that people in your community kind of bring up over and over, if we could kind of go through some of those and how you tend to approach them so we can get ahead of it.
Yeah. Ooh, this is so good. I will speak for myself and a lot of people in my community. Again, I'm lucky I, like you, teach people like myself who are in the similar season. I used to believe that if I just had the right strategy, my kid would do what they're supposed to. Like, or I think what's sold to us a lot as moms, like, oh, if you just have the right entryway system from Pottery Barn, your kids will magically just put their shoes away the first time. You know, like, let's be real. This is how this is sold to us. Or if I had the right 64-page checklist for my kids to do chores, then they'll just, you know, and if it's pretty and on the fridge and in like cursive font, then they'll just follow it without question. This is a lie. So let's just start there. We have to shift our expectation, right? Our kids are human. We are human. We don't put things where they belong the first time. I don't expect my kids to be perfect. So I think reminding myself of that and just like reminding ourselves of that is really helpful. And then I think, so when I was a kid, the extent of my skills around stuff management or decluttering or cleaning was pretty much zero. My parents would just say, Katy, go clean your room.
Yep.
And I was overwhelmed by my room. That's why they told me to clean it, but I was overwhelmed. There was stuff I didn't know what to do with. So I paid my older sister to clean my room for me, who had more of a natural knack. So I never learned that life skill, but I noticed as my kids got older, I would just say, River, you need to clean that up, or you need to clean your room. And he was like, overwhelmed. And then I was mad because he just couldn't figure it out. Really so good. I think understanding there's a big difference between teaching and telling.
Yeah. Yes.
And most of us aren't teaching and modeling that. Now, from a declutter perspective, I think it's really valuable to not push our kids into letting go before they're ready, because that can leave a really deep, subconscious belief and negative feeling around that. So what I started doing when my kids were itty bitty, and it sounds really silly and maybe a little trite, but it definitely, I think, planted the seed, was I would either invite them into the declutter process with me. Like I would be like, hey, I'm decluttering this drawer. Come sit next to me. And they would play with their toys. Yeah. It wasn't like I was teaching something. But what I would do is I would out loud go through the process of how I'm deciding what to keep and what to not keep.
So good.
So that's helpful. And I think that definitely planted the seed. And it was a neutral territory. It wasn't like, you need to fill this black trash bag. And when you do, then you can have a cool new toy. Again, we all parent differently, but I just knew that route for me wasn't an option. Another thing that's been fruitful for partners and kids alike in my family and my community's families is starting with the why. Nobody really wants to declutter. Let's just be real. I don't want to get rid of my stuff. I didn't want to get rid of my clothes and my high heels from my 20s, even though I didn't wear them. But I was really good at pointing out all the clutter that my husband owned and all the clutter that my kids owned, right?
Yep.
And so instead of leading with, hey, we need to declutter, we need to do this, that, and the other, I started with the why. So why, and what's in it for them? So when, again, my kids were little, they were like 2 and 3. So I would say, we need to pick up after ourselves so mommy can have more time to read stories to you at night.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, picking up there was way less resistance because they saw the big picture and they saw and they felt that. You can't, like, even saying that, my heart, it makes such a difference. Feeling it and hearing it are two different things.
Yeah.
My kids feel that, even still today, they feel that. So that can be another really powerful thing to start with, and then go, okay, so here's why we're doing it. And here's what's in it for you. So, hey, bud, if your room is easy to pick up, doesn't have to be perfect, but if it's easy to pick up, you can find your favorite outfits. You can find your favorite Legos. You can have friends into your room and have a spot to sit.
Yes.
Now, oh, okay. Well, okay, I'm on board with that, right?
Yeah.
And then we teach them, we model, we do it with them, right?
Yeah.
That's a great starting point too. We can't just expect them to run with it. So sitting with them, being patient, knowing that the end goal isn't for them to just get it right away, because it won't happen. But it's been a really beautiful thing to build this life skill, which is what we're talking about here: stuff management, decluttering, communication, family dynamic, who's responsible for what, how we work together. It all dovetails. So it's been really profound.
Oh my goodness. I love that so much. It's really helpful. And I think just getting our kids to see the bigger picture and then having realistic expectations for everyone else, and not holding anyone to a different standard than we're holding ourselves is such a good place to start. We've talked a little bit about getting stuff out. I love the donation station. I love all of this. I would love to hear some of your, maybe it's mindsets or mantras or systems about stuff coming in. Because if we've been in a pattern, right, of like accumulating stuff, there's probably something that has to shift there about the things we bring into our home if we're wanting less.
Yes. You were right. And another trap I found myself in was, once I started really flexing my declutter muscle, it was kind of like the faucet kept running, right? And I was great at scooping the water, getting buckets of water. And I'm like, oh, I'm getting good at this, but I never turned the faucet off, right? So that is a root cause of clutter, is so many of our consumption habits. And similar to kind of the root reason for clutter, cultural, more is better. And I think I know so many of us, and I craved simply, I was like, I just want a simple life. One day I was like, to my husband, so it was years ago before I decluttered, I said, can we just go look at RVs? Like, I was really ready to I didn't want a home to manage anymore. I wanted to just like get away from my life. I wanted simple, like living on a farm off the grid sounded so appealing to me, because it was the complete opposite.
Yes, I can relate.
And, I think a lot of us can relate to that, like, desire, but it's like our actions aren't necessarily speaking to those goals or like true desires. So shopping is nuanced. Again, for me, I really feel like probably the biggest thing that helped with my consumption patterns, over the years, I still have to work at it, because living simply and consuming less are counterculture, speaking to especially where we spend our time and attention.
Yes.
We are constantly being told and sold ideas and solutions. And I think one of the most revolutionary concepts that I learned to grasp when it comes to purchasing is that we're not just buying stuff. When we are buying a new lipstick, we're buying confidence. We're buying, I'll feel beautiful in this, or maybe I'll get that guy. When we are buying a car, we're buying status. We're buying, I feel successful. We're buying identities, right?
Yes.
And I think understanding on a very deep level, it's how we're wired. And it's not our fault, but being able to have awareness around that can help you then go, hold on, I already have 5 lipsticks and I don't wear them. I don't really need another one, right? And we can bring some more of that, I guess I would say, objectivity or logic into it. I always look at it like the scales, right? And so culture is telling you to buy, and just the awareness and bringing in certain elements can help tip the scales. Even something as simple as like a 48-hour wait period before you buy something. It's so simple. All of us have heard it over and over, especially if you follow anyone related to decluttering your life. And it's like, oh, okay, I'll wait 48 hours. It works. It works. I still use it, because the temptation doesn't mean it magically disappears. I'm still human. But 9 times out of 10, I'll go back to that little call it a wish list. And sometimes I click it and I'm like, this isn't even cute. What was I thinking?
I'm glad I waited. This is not me.
Thank gosh I didn't, I would have, right? And it's about adding that gap
Yeah.
between the initial desire, right? The spark, and taking action.
Mm-hmm.
And so those few things have been really transformational. But
Yeah.
knowing too that it's not necessarily that you're going to love that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I still am like, oh, am I missing out? Like fear of missing out, super real. Oh, but that's so cute. Or, oh, I want to feel cute too. We all want to feel these things. But then I can also go, I shop my closet. That's another fun thing I do that really helps me buy less. Every Sunday, I do, just like some of us meal plan for the week, right? To plan ahead, use up our ingredients, save money, simplify all the things. I started doing that with my clothes.
Ooh.
And I like shop my closet. Like I walk into it, it's small and it's not the cutest, but whatever, it's good enough. And I like shop like I'm in a boutique, and I try on different outfits. I take like 8-10 minutes, right?
Oh,
I'm
I
busy,
love that.
but it is so fun. And it's making my clothes work harder for me. It gets that dopamine of like shopping, and I'm not spending money. And so it really ticks a lot of boxes for me. So that's just a fun little side note.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. Uh, um, Before we wrap up, I would love to give you an opportunity to just share maybe something that's had a really big impact for you, for your community, that we haven't talked about yet. So maybe it is a system, maybe it's a daily thing, maybe it's something else that you want to share. But I know I want more.
Yes, I'm glad you asked this. One thing I didn't get to talk about, and this system has been integral for me and my communities, is doing a daily reset. So we talked about the donation station and clutter audits for, habits to help the declutter process. But resets are when you take a few minutes each day to reset these kind of expected mess hotspots: kitchen counters, kitchen tables, bathroom vanities, right? Typically surface areas that if we don't do daily resets, they tend to build, get overwhelming, and our brain doesn't know the difference between expected mess and clutter, right? Yes, we can remind ourselves, okay, Katy, deep breath. This is expected mess. I can handle this. But our brain still gets overwhelmed because of the visual stimulus, right? It's overwhelming.
Yes.
And so the purpose of a daily reset is to keep expected mess to a minimum. And it's where you reset that space back to its baseline tidiness. So anything that doesn't live there permanently gets put away. One thing I started doing again when my kids were little and I started doing these resets, I started doing them once a day just as a starting point, because we can't be like, I'm going to do daily resets in 18 locations 5 times a day. No one's going to do that. So pick your hotspot. Most of us, that's entryways is a really great starting point.
Okay.
Maybe right after dinner, you say, hey, we're going to set the timer. Maybe you have a 5-minute playlist and everyone does their part, right? Yeah. Teach your kids how to do it. Here's where the shoes live. And it can be a lot of fun.
Yep.
Yeah, you might feel some resistance, but I think there is a lot of value in getting the whole family on board. But even if it's just you at home at the time doing it, it has provided me such, I think, mental, maybe stability might be the right word, but it's almost like this reassurance too, knowing that even if I see expected mess build throughout the day, before I get to my reset, I can go, okay, brain, calm down. We have a plan in action. I know how to handle this. And that can really keep stress at bay as well. So highly recommend doing that. And let me know how it goes.
Yeah. Oh, so good. It's so wise, so practical. Man, thank you so much. So for everyone listening who's like, yes, I need more of this. I hear her talking about this community. I want to be a part of it. Tell everyone how they can find you. Tell them about your podcast. Tell them about your community. Where can they get more?
Yeah, come hang out on the show. I have Wednesday episodes each week on the Maximized Minimalist. And then my social platform of choice is Instagram. Love hanging out there and engaging with my audience. And then, of course, I have freebies and things like that on my website, katyjoywells.com.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, thank you for making the time to be with us today, to pour into all of us. I love the work that you're doing. I think it's a bigger deal than people probably realize initially. And then they follow through and they're like, oh my gosh, this was amazing. So just thanks for all of it. And thanks for being here with us today.
Thank you.